I am Abhisek Sinha. I'm a product manager at Actuate. I've been with Actuate for around a year. And before joining Actuate, in fact, interesting, I was working at Google Mountain View for around a year. I worked with implementing their internal help desk site. So it's quite interesting to come back to Google and deliver a talk here. And what I'll do is that I can speak about BIRT for 5 hours nonstop. So what I'm going to aim to do over here is give you an overview and provide you a starting point on where you can start working with BIRT. If you have any questions, I have my cards out here. You can just take one of them, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to answer them. As well as after the presentation, I'll be staying out here. If you have any questions, just come free. Feel free to ask me. As well as I'm expecting one more staff member from Actuate to come and join us. So you'll be having 2 members from Actuate to shoot off. Okay. So this is the agenda for today. I'll be starting out with a background of BIRT, talking about how BIRT project came to be about. Then I'll go over a quick demo of the BIRT product in which I'll go over the designer, go over a few demo examples of how to use BIRT, talk about a few key features, market adoption, how is it being used, who all are using it, give you a few examples of deployment options, talk about the various products that are there in the BIRT technology. And finally, I'll end with an actual live case study of how BIRT is being used. Now, often we get the question is from Java developers or developers in general is that I don't need reporting. Why does my application need reporting? But if you look at these slides, you have shipping manifests, you have defect tracking applications, you have utility builds application. So now you don't see the word reporting in there, but the common theme over here is that they all have needs of data visualization. They need to be able to manipulate data and show the data to the end users. So your application may not say that it's a reporting application, but invariably we see that it does need some kind of reporting product or reporting tool so that you can present your data to your customers in a meaningful way. And if you look at all these different kind of examples, you have online printed reports, you have daily work orders. All of these are applications in the real world, and they have real data visualization needs. Now let me start off with the introduction of BIRT. Now traditionally there have been these 2 models of solving data visualization needs. Either you buy a closed source commercial product in which you get a lot of features out of the box, but it's possible that you're paying too much for the product. Maybe you are forced with features that you don't need. On the other hand, you could build your own custom developed solution. So you could have your own team of developers you could develop your own solution. But the inherent problem in this could be that maybe you do not have the requisite expertise. You need to train your developers so that they can create those applications. Now with the emergence of open source products, now there are 2 different models that you can use now. Either you can straight away leverage open source products in your own custom solution. So you can take any open source product and just plug and play into your own solution. Or you can build your own solution building an open source products. So you can see that with the prevalence of open source, there's a new angle to it. There's a new twist to the conventional angle of building or buying a commercial product on your own. So seeing that inherent need, seeing the inherent advantages to these approaches, Actuate decided to go open source, and we believe that open source is the way to go. Now BIRT stands for Business Intelligence and Reporting Tool. It's a top-level Eclipse project, and this was started out by Actuate in 2004. And before I continue, just by a show of hands, how many people out of here know about BIRT? You can just raise your hand. So we have 3 people. And out of these 3, have you used BIRT in a project or something like that? Okay, all right. So probably I'll just start from a very high-level overview. So BIRT is a professionally open source project. So what it means is that it's an open source project, but the developers are funded by Actuate. So all the developers, most of the development is done by Actuate staff. At the same time, it's being open source. It has a very active and vibrant community. We have contributions coming from IBM, Innovent, and various contributors in the community. So being professional open source, we believe that we can deliver both the advantages of open source, in which you can connect to the community, you can get feedback, you can get people to contribute to the community. At the same time, being professional, that we can ensure that it adheres to all the software development lifecycle. We can ensure that we do all the testing required so that we deliver a product that is good enough for all enterprise applications. So in this way, you see that this is a merging of both the enterprise and the open source world. And this is the model that we use for BIRT. And we are based on the Eclipse community, so we feel that is an advantage. Eclipse being one of the prime IDE for Java developers, we feel that we can communicate with them much more easily. And Eclipse being a well-known brand, we feel that customers are much more comfortable in moving to a product which is based on Eclipse rather than based on any other open source products. Now the key facet of BIRT is that we always strive to make our products simple as well as powerful. Simple on the one hand means that if you are a report developer starting on day one, trying to create a report, you can easily use the tool and start creating reports. Powerful means that if you are an advanced report developer, if you want to create advanced data visualizations, if you want to create advanced reports, you can use the tool in the same way and create very advanced reports. A few key points to note over here is that it's open and standard based. It's a Java-based product. And another key facet is the support of libraries and reuse. We believe that any product or any tool needs to be modular enough so that you develop your code once and then you can reuse that same code across your multiple projects, across your multiple reports, as well as across your multiple team members in your team. So we have the concept of libraries that is supported across the tool. So you create a library and put all your components in the library, and then you expose that library to your team members, and they don't need to create all the code once again. Another point to note over here is that it's based on a web-based design metaphor. A lot of the competing reporting tools are based on a banded reporting framework in which you have different bands, header, footer, and the content. Now BIRT is based on a web design framework in which any report developer who knows about HTML, who knows how HTML works, who knows how HTML tables work, they will be able to use BIRT. They can use their own web design metaphors and they can translate that over to BIRT. They don't need to know about any advanced reporting technology, advanced reporting schemes, tips and tricks. If they know how to code HTML, they can use BIRT. A quick look at the BIRT release history. We started out in 2004 and we've got 6 major releases since then. We release one major version every year and we have 2 maintenance releases apart from that. And the last major release was in June 2009, which was 2.5 release. And if you look at these releases, I would say that with the release of 2.2, June 2007, that we really entered big time. We were able to deliver a lot of enterprise-grade features like the dynamic crosstab support, web services, and which enabled us to reach a lot of enterprise customers. And every year we have a major release. We actively poll our community for various features, for various enhancement requests, and based on the popularity of the request, we actually choose to demarcate a particular bug or particular enhancement for that release. A few key points to note over here is that it's totally based from ground up. It's not based on any other product and then molded over to make this product. It was built from scratch, built from ground zero. And so in that way, we are able to ensure that all the core ideals we were able to put all the core ideals in the product. It's not that we tried to patch another product and try to make it into BIRT. Now let me go over a quick demo of the product. If you have any questions, you feel free to just stop me anytime. Now this is the report designer of BIRT. If you see that there are various panels out here, you have the palette view, you have the data explorer view, you have the resource view. What I'll do is I'll start creating a blank report that will give you a good idea of how to go about the tool. To create a new report, you simply go File, New, Report. Let me give it a name. Okay. Now you see that we already provide you the set of templates out of the box. So for example, if you want to start with a blank report, you can just use this. Or there are set of certain templates. For example, if you want to have this kind of customer listing report where you have 4 columns, you can use that. You have other kinds of listing reports, simple listing, group listing, and various kind of templates. Now the great thing about BIRT is that it's totally extensible. We know that no product can fulfill all your requirements. You definitely would have custom requirements that are specific for your product. Almost all of BIRT can be extended by you. For example, you see the list of templates out here. You can choose to use any of these templates, or you can actually create your own template, make it a plugin, and add it out here. So in that way, it's totally extensible. I'll just use a blank report. Click on Finish. So it's created a blank report right now for me. It has nothing over there. So now the next step comes is, let me try to add some data to it. Go to Data Explorer and create a data source. Now this is like a mapping to your data source. So we provide out-of-the-box connection. This is a sample database that's available out of the box. You can connect to a flat file, JDBC data source, scripted, web services, Exable data source. Once again, this screen is also extensible. If you have a data source that is not available over here, you can easily write your own data source provider and add it out here. So in that way, we are not binding you to the limits of the product. You're not forced to use only these data sources. So let me go ahead and create a sample data source. So that is ready for you to now use. The next step is to create a data set, which is like a SQL result set. So once you do that, you can select your data set, click on Next, and these tables are available for you to use. You can write your query on the right-hand side. Let's say select star from, and just pick one table from here. We also have a graphical query editor, so if you have users who don't know SQL, they can choose to use a graphical query editor. But we see that most of our target audience, most of Java developers, they do know a bit of SQL, and so they prefer to use this. So click on Finish. So once you do that, you can preview the results. So this is the data that is coming out from a data set. And of course, you can add few filters. You can, let's say I want to filter by some code. You can add filters over here. You can add parameters. You can add computed columns. For example, if all the columns of the data set do not exactly fulfill your need, you can create a custom computed column. So let me just go ahead with the default result set. So once that is there, on the right-hand side, your data is available. One quick and easy way to add all your data to your sheet is just drag and drop. It's going to create a table in your palette with all the different order details. Let me show you how this report looks. So this is a very simple report. It's a listing report of various order details. Now the view out here you're seeing is the BIRT report viewer. Apart from showing the data, it has a few additional things. For example, you can see there's a link for next page. So it generates paginated reports. As well as you can export the report to multiple formats. You can export a report to Excel, PDF, PostScript, Word, PowerPoint. And once again, all of this is extensible. For example, if you want to view a report in CSV format, you can write your own emitter. You can use our APIs and write your own emitter, and then you can expose that emitter over here, and then you can easily export your reports to CSV. And in fact, we see that a lot of customers actually use these extension points to provide their own functionality. In that way, they can write exactly what they want. They're not constrained by the product, and they can do pretty much what they want. Yes, I'm going to get to that. Okay. So I'm starting with the designer, then I'll go to the runtime environment. Okay, so let's go over the overview of the report designer quickly. Now the palette view has different report items that you can drag and drop to your report screen. For example, you have cross tabs where you can add cross tabs, cubes to your reports. You can add charts. I'll just show you a few of the charts that you've got there. you've got these different charts out of the box: bar, light, pie, meter, Gantt. In fact, Gantt chart is one interesting example in which it was contributed by the community to the BIRT project. And once again, the key point is extensibility. If you have a need for a chart that is not there, you can easily use the extension points and add a chart over here. So once again, we are not constraining you to the charts that are available out here. You can easily write your own charts and put them out here.
Do you have like soft lines or 3D pie charts?
Now the question is whether you do have 3D pie charts or soft lines. Yeah, we do have all these options. So what you do is that once you select a pie chart, then you can decide whether you want to do it in 2D, 3D, or what all options are there. So you can do a lot of advanced processing with those charts. And once again, as I said, it's totally extensible. If you feel that the charts out of the box do not fulfill exactly what you do, you can write your own API extension on top of it. So in that way, you can write exactly the functionality that you want. Okay, quick overview over here. You can specify a master page. So in this way, you can decide how you want your page to look. For example, this is a default US letter format. You can choose A4 or custom legal size. We also have comprehensive support for scripting. As I said before, that there would definitely be a lot of custom requirements in which you want to extend your product. So BIRT provides a lot of support for scripting through JavaScript as well as through Java. So if you see the script tab over here, you have various functions, the various events that are available for you. You can straight away choose, let's say, on page start event, and then you can start away typing your JavaScript code over here. You can also write your own Java code out here, so that if you have certain Java code that you want to call on the basis of, let's say, page start, you could write a Java code, define it there, and then make sure that it gets called when your page start function executes. Another interesting point is the XML source. This design file that gets translated finally into an XML file. So in this view, you can actually see the XML file that's getting generated. It's not recommended to view and edit this directly, but it's actually a good and neat way of understanding the structure of the XML tool. So we don't recommend users to actually go ahead and directly change this XML file. We encourage you to go to the layout view and then change it accordingly. And finally, you can quickly preview how your report is looking. I did a lot of things, so I'll just cancel. Okay. Now let me show you an example of a demo application that was created using BIRT, because the designer is good. You have seen the designer. The next question is, how do I create the BIRT reports? And once I create the BIRT reports, how will my application look? How can I integrate my reports into my application? Okay. So what I've done is that I integrated the BIRT engine into a Tomcat server. I'll be going over the details later on, but what I want to show over here is an example of an application that was created using BIRT reports. So this is a typical customer sales dashboard that you might have seen in your company. Shows you typical sales data. On the left-hand side, you have the revenue data by month. This is showing you, the left-hand side chart is actually showing you two amounts of data. Number one, it's showing you the revenue broken by month, total revenue broken by month. Also, it's showing you total units sold per month. So you can see that this is a composite axis. On the right-hand side, the same data is broken up by, it's showing me the top 5 customers who have bought my products. I'm also showing you the revenue by territory, telling me how, in these APAC, EMEA, how much of my product sold. And finally, at the bottom, you see that it's revenue by product line, showing me a split of how my different products fared. So another interesting point over here is that we provide a comprehensive hyperlink builder, so you can actually link your visualization in a very coherent way. So for example, you can see the data over here. So now the question that the user might think is that, okay, I see the data for November. Now it will be interesting if I can see a breakup of that data. So typical use case would be you provide them a link, and once if they click on November, it will just then break up the data. Now it's showing you all the data for November 2004. It's showing me that in November, the classic cars had a split of 41%. This was the revenue by product line. Various regions, they sold that much. These are the various customers and which product they bought, and showing me the relative performance of the month November as compared to the year. So in this way, you can create applications. You can pass parameters. For this example, you might have seen that the same month, that is November 2004, was passed on to your second report. So in this way, you can provide a holistic application experience to a report user. Few more examples I can show you. For, let's say you have the top 5 customers over here. So your user might want to know is what exactly did your Euro shopping channel buy. So in this way, you can create a logic in saying that when he clicks on that, it shows me a customer history report. It shows you that this customer, that is Euro shopping channel, they bought these products, and this was the quantity, unit price, and this was the total revenue generated by them. You can further link it, saying that maybe for this order number, I want to see exactly the detailed invoice. What exactly was purchased, and the invoice for that. This is an invoice report. So once again, you're seeing different kind of examples of different kind of reports. So each of these reports, they have different orientation, they have different use cases, and you see that BIRT can be very easily used. I can easily go from my original BIRT report which I showed you to one of these reports in something like less than 10 to 20 minutes. It's not at all complicated. Okay, we'll close that. A few more examples. Let's say you want to break up your revenue data by territory. You want to see within EMEA which countries had a lot of revenue flowing from them. So in this way, you can see the data scattered across various countries. You can see within these countries who are the customers that bought your products. And finally, another use case would be that once you see the revenue by product line, I would like to see more detailed analysis of the same report. So this again another kind of chart, which is a line chart, which shows you what's happening for every quarter. On the right hand side, it shows the relative performance of the various product lines. And the bottom, you see various tables. So this is a simple demo of how an application might look, what you need to do. I will go over detailed integration options later on. Now going back to my presentation. Now this is some of the key capabilities that are available in BIRT. So there's a lot of them, but I'll just go over a few high-level ones. For the SQL databases, we have one key feature over here is that we enable multiple data sources in one design. A lot of competitor reporting products, they do not allow you to do it. So let's say you start creating a report, you're pretty much bound to that data set that you created. In BIRT, it's totally flexible. You can create one data set, you can create multiple data sets, and then you can reuse how many data sets you want in your report design. We provide support for listings, crosstabs, dashboard. You must have seen a lot of these examples just before, in which you can create different kind of groupings, you can create crosstabs, you can create tables, you can create various kind of reports. The output formats, we enable you to export data to HTML, PDF, Word, Excel, various kind. And once again, this is totally extensible. If you have need for any other kind of report output, for example, CSV, you can easily write your own extension point and then write the product. Now I'll be going quickly over a few examples of reports created by BIRT. So on the left-hand side, you have a listing report where you have groups and subgroups. So you can create a report in which you have groups over there by orders, and within those you can define subgroups easily. On the right-hand side, you might have seen this report just before, in which you have charts on top and tables below. You can create the same report using BIRT very easily. A few more examples. On the left-hand side, you have a crosstab report. Right-hand side, you have the same where you add the charts to crosstabs. So in addition to crosstabs, you're also showing charts. Now on the left-hand side, you see a calendar report. So using BIRT, you can create a calendar or a schedule report. On the right-hand side is an interesting example. So this is a form. There might be many use cases in which you need to create a form or an invoice. You can use BIRT to easily create that report. Now there's a dashboard example on the left-hand side in which you have various components coming from various different data sets. So you can easily create a matchboard or a dashboard of various data components. On the right-hand side is an interesting report. So it's a multi-language and bi-directional report. So for example, let's say if you have a need for displaying data in Arabic where the text flows from right to left. So in BIRT, you can easily combine that data. You can put that data in a report. And additionally, you can merge that data with your English data. So you can have some components flowing from left to right and some components flowing from right to left. So you can merge both those bidirectional data in your one report. Few example of charts. So where you have, go back, where you got pie charts, you got bar charts, histograms, a few more detailed example of charts. So you can see that you can do a lot of customization, you can do a lot of advanced processing to ensure that the chart really looks good and it's compelling for your end user. Few example of charts where you have meter chart, you have stock chart, you have difference charts. Now let me talk about the high-level BIRT architecture. So initially, remember I told you about the XML report design. So the BIRT report designer that you use, it's composed of the Eclipse BIRT report designer, which in turn uses the report design engine to actually create this XML report design. This XML report design is a blueprint of how your data would look, which all data sources it needs to connect, what all processing it needs to do. So basically, it's like a blueprint for your report design. So once you have the blueprint report design, then you go into the runtime where you have the report engine. So that report engine, coupled with the data, it understands what it needs to do with the blueprint, what all data sources it needs to connect, how it needs to retrieve the data, and combined with the presentation services, you then decide whether I want to show it as an HTML, PDF, Word output. So you see that there are two key points to note over here is that the first step is that once you create a report design, you get a report design document. Then with the report engine, you transform that report design to a report document. And the second step can actually be combined into one step in which you straight away go to HTML, or if you have custom requirements, for example, you want to create a report, the report document actually has the data itself. So let's say if you have a requirement that you want to export the data to CSV format, something that is different. So you can choose to not go straight away to HTML. You can say that, okay, just give me a report document, and then based on the report document, I'm going to do some processing. So in this way, we provide you the functionality, provide you the flexibility in deciding what you want to do with the data. Once again, as I said before, extensibility is a key part of the project. We have extensibility at various levels. At the data source level, you can define your own data source providers. You can extend the product. So let's say that you want to connect to a data source which is not available out of the box. So you can easily write your extension points so that you can connect to those data sources. You can write your own business logic in Java or JavaScript. Again, visualize extensibility as well. So if you have a need to put certain widgets that are not available out of the box, so you can write your own widget. So you can write your own widget, define your own widget, decide how it will look, define what all processing it can do, and then you can add the widget to your designer. In fact, a few interesting use cases of a product is that one customer actually wanted to use their own designer. So what they did is that they extended the engine and they put the report designer interface into their own users' web application. So they chose not to use the exact report designer. They wanted to use a report interface that was similar to what their end users were used to. So in that way, they were able to use their APIs and then integrate the APIs into their code so that they don't use the design itself. They can use the report interfaces that the users were more comfortable with. And finally, they can render content for output for various devices. So we have a set of devices available out of the box. If you feel a need to add output for a certain output which is not there, you can easily add content to that. So here is a quick look at a few APIs that are available for you to use. So on the top, where I talked about the BIRT report designer, So congruent to a report designer, you have the report design engine API. So all the functionality that the report designer has is also available in the report design API. So if you want to programmatically design your reports, you can use the report design API to do the same. Of course, the designer has a lot of functionality already built in, so you can leverage some of the functionality. But as I said, if you have a need for having a very custom interface for the needs of a user, you can easily use the report design API to create your reports. So once you create your XML report design, then you have the report engine API. Now this is the runtime API. So you can customize the runtime to do what you want. So you can use this API to call the BIRT engine and do the functions that you want. For example, if you want to generate a report document, you can do that. Or if you want to just straight away generate a report HTML, PDF, Excel, Word, you can use that. In addition to, you also see that there's a chart engine API over here and the chart UI API on the top. So the chart engine is available standalone as well. So you can choose to use the chart API on its own. It's also embedded within the report engine and the design engine API. So the chart engine can be used in the design time, can be used in the runtime. So you can choose whether you want to use the chart engine on your own or within the report design engine itself. So this is a quick overview of what I talked before. These are the different APIs that are available for you to use. The design API, which is the design time environment, you can use that to create your XML report design. The report engine API, that is a runtime equivalent. So you can use that to determine how you want to present your data. And finally, you have the chart engine API, which is available both your design and runtime. And you can use either of them standalone or as well as they are embedded inside the report engine. Quick look at what's happening with BIRT. So you can see that going from 2005 to 2008, there have been exponential growth in the number of downloads of BIRT. There have been more than 6.5 million downloads of BIRT through 2008. So this shows that BIRT is being actively used by community and a lot of more users are coming onto this platform. This is a quick overview and a snapshot of various customers who are using BIRT. And you will see in this screenshot that there are various kind of customers across various verticals, and they're using BIRT for various kind of products. Another example of BIRT momentum, these are various publications that are available for you to use. So if you're a developer who's using BIRT, you can easily refer to these examples, to these books, so that you can get your help whatever you want. And one key point to note over here is that top 2 books are available today. So if you're paying attention, so maybe we can distribute them to you today. Okay, so who are the users who are using BIRT? So depending on the audience, there are various kind of different ways in which you can use BIRT. If you see on the top, if you're a report developer who doesn't do a lot of coding, but they just create reports, you can use the drag and drop authoring interface of the report designer. On the other hand, if you go to the bottom, if you're a core Java developers, you would prefer to extend the product, write your own code so that you can fulfill the business logic based on your own needs. So in that case, we provide you with the Eclipse environment. You can use the Eclipse environment to do that, as well as it's open source. So you're not even bound to a particular product for that. Few different use cases of how BIRT is used. If you're a report developer, you would choose to use the BIRT report designer, which I just showed you. That was a desktop designer tool. Now, if you are a Java developers and if you want to integrate BIRT into your applications, this is the scenario that you would look at. So if you have an application right on top, and then what you can do is you can embed your BIRT engine into your application and just write a few bits of integration code so that your BIRT functionality is available for you for your application. For now looking at commercial deployment scenarios, wherein which you have need to fulfill the need to serve a lot of users, you need to have scalability, you need to ensure that the reports are secure, you are delivering the right reports to the right person. So in that case, you will use the BIRT report engine that is residing within the report server. Now what I'll do is I'll talk about a few common popular BIRT deployment options that are available for you. Now you can use pretty much BIRT in any environment that you've got, but these are the most common use cases that we have seen. These are the most common deployment scenarios that we have seen. Starting off, if you got a web application, you can use the web viewer. Now web viewer is a standard, is an example web application that we have provided as part of the report engine download that you can straight away use to provide reports. So if you use this, you don't need to write any logic to do the reporting part. You can write the logic for your own custom business logic, but the reporting, the data interpretation, the data visualization is already taken care of. And this is the most common use case that we have seen, is that this is most commonly used by users because they don't have to worry about writing reporting code, writing code of how to generate the charts. They can only focus on how to generate the logic, how to get the data. So this is the most common use case that we have seen. And once again, this is available within the report engine download. So once you download the report engine, there's a WAR file that you can straight away deploy onto your Tomcat server or any application that you have, and it's straight away available out of the box. I'll be going over this in detail later on. The next example is a custom servlet. So this is another popular scenario that we have seen, is that you want to write your own code. So rather than using the web viewer out of the box, you want to write your own code, and depending on your project needs, you want to extend or want to change the functionality of BIRT. And this example is provided on BIRT Exchange. Now BIRT Exchange is a community website that you can leverage to actually share content, access content. We have a lot of forums where you can post your questions, and we have a lot of experts waiting online. They can answer your questions. So BIRT Exchange is a great resource where you can share data, you can share tips and tricks, you can access a lot of tips and tricks that are dedicated, that are shared by our community. A few other examples: if you have an RCP application, you can either choose to use the web viewer plugin, or you can use the BIRT engine plugin. And of course, if you've got a standalone Java application, you can choose to straight away use the report engine API to do your needs. Now going over the first example, which is the deployment scenario, which is the web viewer. As I said before, this is a sample implementation using servlets, in which what you have done is that we've encapsulated all the report engine API calls into a servlet environment. So you don't have to worry about calling the engine and trying to find out which functions do what. So in this way, what you can do is that you can pass parameters, you can pass the report name, you can pass various values in the URL itself. So you don't have to worry about the coding, you can just pass the appropriate parameter values. The key points to note over here is that there are two servlet mappings, which is frame set and run. So depending on whether you want to create table of contents, you want to create page navigation, you want to create paginated output, you can use frame set. Or if you want to just simply create an HTML or PDF output, you simply use the run mapping. The deployment steps are very simple. You just download it from the download site, extract the zip to your local folder, and just select the WAR file and put it in your deployment directory. Once you do that, we give you a default report available out of the box. So once you click on that, so I have a Tomcat running on my laptop. So if you see this report, that means that your BIRT report viewer has been configured correctly and you're all set to go. Now a few interesting things that you can do with this. There are various options. For example, if you use a frame set variable, and you can generate the BIRT report viewer. Just click on that. So this is the BIRT report viewer of the report that I showed you before. So this report viewer enables the end user to export the report to various formats. They can export it PDF, Word, PowerPoint, etc. As well as the output is paginated. So this is a one-page report, but if you had a report which spanned multiple pages, you can enable pagination over here. You can also print out this report from here. So if you use the web viewer, all this functionality is provided out of the box. You don't need to write code to do all these things. If you don't need a toolbar, don't need a table of contents, you can just run it simply without the frame set, you can choose run. And now you see the same report without the top toolbar. If you go back to the previous report, you can see the toolbar on the top where you could print, export. Over here, you're seeing the raw HTML output. So if there's a use case in which you want to embed your HTML output into some other application, you can choose this option. Okay, let's move somewhere else. You can also pass parameters. In fact, this is an example. You can also straight away generate PDF outputs. So if you see that the same report, and I'm passing a format variable, format parameter saying that show me in the format of PDF. So if I click on that, it's going to generate a same report and show me in the PDF format. So this is once again available out of the box. You don't need to do any coding so that the PDF output is rendered. Okay. Just waiting for the PDF output to complete. So this is a listing report in the PDF format. You can see that there are charts on top, followed by tables, and this is a 45-page report. So you can choose to view the whole report in PDF. You can also pass parameters. You can say that if I want to see only data for this customer, the sharp gifts, I can say that. I can just click on that. And the other interesting part is that you can also display a report as a reportlet. So let's say that you want to display a part of your report, let's say only one chart of your entire report into your own application. You can also choose to do that. So you can see from the example, I can just embed this pie chart into whatever application I've got. So I've created a bookmark for this pie chart, and I just say that give me just data for that bookmark. So it's going to embed that HTML content into whatever application you've got. So you can see that there are various options that are available for you. You can choose to write applications which generate HTML pages straight out of the box, or you could use the BIRT output to put into your own HTML output. So you can see that there are various ways. Either you generate the entire HTML from BIRT, or you generate a snippet like this and then put it into your application. So there are multiple ways in which you can use BIRT. So let's see our next example of a custom servlet. So in this case, you do not want to use the web viewer out of the box. You want to write your own servlet. Once again, a lot of the files are available in the runtime engine. So once you download the report runtime engine, you've got all these jar files that are available for you. You put them in the appropriate folders, and you create that you put all the report designs in the report folder, and they will be available for you to use. Once again, this is only an example implementation. You could choose to do whatever way you want. You can choose to integrate BIRT with struts or any other framework that I use. And I'll be sharing these slides with this group, and in these slides, I have a lot of links to various examples in which you can integrate BIRT with struts, integrate BIRT with jboss theme, integrate BIRT with various application servers, providing examples of design engine APIs. So there are a lot of examples that are available on our community site, and my presentation will have a lot of links to that. So you can refer to those if you need some help on that. Now this is a snapshot of the code. I'm not sure if you can see that clearly. So this is a snapshot of the code that you will need to write if you want to call the BIRT engine API. A lot of this code is just initializing the engine and creating the various application context keys. The primary parts are in bold, where you have the run and render task of the report design. So there are various functions that are available for you. So this is the run and render task. So in this, what I choose to do is I choose to do both the tasks together, which is create the report document, the intermediate step, and finally use that intermediate document to create my output together. You can choose to do those processes separately. You can say, I want to run the document first, create an intermediate document then, and then depending on the document that's created, I want to do certain processing. So there are different ways that you can do this. You can see there's another bolded line which is set the output format as HTML. So in this case, what I'm doing is setting the output as HTML. So once again, you can set the output type of PDF, Word, or any other examples that you've got. So depending on what you need, you can write different kind of codes. And you can see that to get BIRT working is just like around 10 to 50 lines of code. You don't need to write a huge application, don't need to write a lot of code to get BIRT working. So this is a very simple example of how little code that you need to generate BIRT. Now let me talk to you about the Actuate BIRT family. So the core of Actuate BIRT is the Eclipse BIRT, which meets your core reporting requirements. So using Eclipse BIRT, we ensure that we are able to reach a lot of developers. It fulfills most of the reporting needs. It's a state-of-the-art report designer. Now, based on the feedback from the community and from our users, we feel that they are certain, based on the reporting requirements, the next level is that our users have come back to us and saying that these are the various needs that we have seen from our end users. So you have development tools on the left-hand side in which you want your users to be able to create reports. You want your report developers to be able to create reports. The next question is that I want my users to be able to interact with the data. So let's say I create a report grouped by country. So let's say my users, they want to see data for a specific state. So in that case, I should be able to enable my data to customize the report. They should be able to sort the data. They should be able to group the data accordingly so that IT doesn't need to create all the reports all the time. So some of the burden then shifts on to the end user. They can create the reports according to what they want. So we have various products in those areas. Moving on to deployment tools, there can be different ways in which you want to deploy your reports. You can choose to deploy your reporting tool into your own application server. Let's say you have a WebLogic, WebSphere, or Tomcat in your environment, and you simply want to embed the reporting product into your environment. You can easily do that. On the other hand, you can choose to use the server in which you can manage, schedule, run, and distribute reports. So this is going to deliver the best performance, deliver the best security, best infrastructure for you to use. And finally, on the right-hand side, you have iServer Enterprise, in which you really want to deliver your data to a huge, huge audience. You want to secure your reports. You want to ensure that your data, the right data, is being seen by the right people. So there are different kind of products, different kind of user requirements, and based on that, we are delivering different kind of products. Now, Actuate BIRT goes beyond Eclipse BIRT. So these are different features that are provided additionally by Actuate BIRT, which are on top of the basic core reporting requirements provided by Eclipse BIRT. So we provide out-of-the-box Flash visualizations. We have around 266 Flash objects that are available out of the box. So these are your typical charts, your Gantt charts, your power charts you can use out of the box. We also provide connectors to various data sources. We have various deployment mechanism. And this is geared for the enterprise, wherein you can deliver maximum scale and maximum security for your product. Quickly going over a few products. This is the BIRT Report Studio. So this is designed for power users who want to create reports but do not necessarily know SQL. So what you can do is you can create metadata objects and then expose those metadata objects to your users. They can create reports. So then in that case, they don't need to write any SQL constructs. They can simply use the drag and drop paradigm, and they can simply choose very English sounding words on the left hand side. If you use metadata objects, you can just simply expose them as a tool. Quickly going on to the next product, which is the interactive viewer. So this is for your totally end users. This is not the power users. These are your end users. For example, the users who access your bank statements, or the sales representative for your particular company. So in this case, the use case over here is that they want to sort the data based on their particular need. So in that case, they don't need to go back to IT and saying that, hey, I want the data to be broken up by this measure, so why don't you create another report? So in this way, they can simply choose the same report. They can just group it or sort it, and that way they can use the same report. IT doesn't need to maintain multiple copies of the same report, and they use the same report for their own processing. Finally, a few examples of BIRT application deployments. You've got the BIRT open source deployment. Then moving on to embedded applications, in which you can embed your BIRT report engine into your application server. Actuate BIRT has Eclipse BIRT plus the Flash widgets in which you can deliver your visualizations. Moving into departmental applications, which is the iServer Express, in which you are not serving a lot of audience, but at the same time you want to implement security, you want to ensure that the users are seeing the right data. And finally, you have the iServer Enterprise, in which you want your application to reach a lot of people. You want to ensure you have the best scalability and the best security. Finally, I'll go over a quick case study. This is the IBM Tivoli Maximo. So Maximo is a product which has various modules like asset management, work management, contract management. And they came to us looking for a reporting solution in which they wanted to show the data in a visually appealing way to the customers. And BIRT is now heavily used in the IBM Maximo products. We have around 150 BIRT report designs that are available in Maximo. There are various kind of reports that are created using Maximo over there. And you can see on the right-hand side a few examples of BIRT reports in Maximo. Key point over here is that we have implemented BIRT security with them so that we can deliver the right reports, deliver the right data to the right people. So what's coming up next in BIRT? So we are right now working on a 2.5.1 release, which is scheduled for release in September. And you can access the project plan on eclipse.org/BIRT. The project plan is available for you to view. And from the Actuate perspective, we are working on the Actuate 11 version. Now, I would like to point you to the BIRT Exchange community site. This is a great resource for you if you want to look at various BIRT reports, if you want to look at various tips and tricks, look at various code examples. You can post your questions on the forums over here, and there are various experts available that can answer your questions. And you can also download a lot of documentation, software. We have trial beta versions of our product as well. You can download from here and have a look. And we encourage our community to contribute as well. So you'll see that a lot of the contributions are actually from the community. It's not only Actuate. We have seen a lot of contribution from the community as well. These are a few examples that are there available on BIRT Exchange. Just a quick view overview of that. There are some data integration examples, application integration examples, report engine API usage examples. Few examples of how to use WebViewer. And finally, the interesting part in which we have various integration examples. For example, we have code on which you can integrate BIRT with Hibernate struts. You got stripes, you got Sprig, you got BIRTlets, and you got Glassfish. So you can see there are a lot of examples on how you can integrate BIRT, how you can use BIRT with your various applications. So once again, I encourage you to go to this website, have a look at various tips and tricks, and most probably you will find a way of integrating BIRT within your application. And once again, I'm going to share this presentation with the group, so you can have a look at this and see if it fits your needs. Finally, I'll end by summarizing what we have. So BIRT is a top-level Eclipse project, and it's available. It's free with a commercially friendly license. And the community is really huge. We have active growing community of BIRT users. We have 6.5 million downloads of BIRT till date, and it's growing every quarter. And Actuate BIRT extends and complements BIRT with value-added technology. That's it which I have, and I'm ready for questions if you have any. So the question was, how much can you do without Flash? So Flash as a framework, as a platform, provides you a lot of interactivity straight out of the box. So definitely those components we try to mimic using our own technology, but definitely there's a lot of interactivity options, interactive things that can be only done with Flash. And Flash provides a great framework for that. So depending on your needs, probably depends on exactly what you're trying to achieve. Maybe we can take this one-on-one, exactly what you want to do. If you have a use case of what kind of application you're trying to write and what you're trying to exactly do, I can provide you an example of whether we can do that or whether we cannot do that. Yeah, so the question was whether we consider other IDEs such as IntelliJ and NetBeans. So we chose to go with Eclipse because, especially in 2004, that was the most prevalent IDE for Java developers, and that is being used most common by Java developers. So that was our number one objective, is to get to most of the Java developers, and especially in 2004. At that time, it especially made sense to go with Eclipse. Going forward, as of this point, we do not have plans of integrating with other IDEs, but definitely it could change down the road. Right now, we are sticking with Eclipse. So right now, the focus being is on Ajax technology. So we have different ways of doing that. Either you use Flash, or you use one of our products, which is Ajax-based, to do that. So we have the HTML, the normal Ajax way of doing interactivity, as well as the Flash way of doing interactivity. So there are multiple ways, and depending on what you exactly want. So the Flash interactivity is mostly of how do I want to slice and dice my data. It's mostly that, okay, I've got a chart. I want to maybe drill down into the chart. So for that application, the chart would be, the Flash would be really helpful. On the other hand, let's say I've got a table report, and I want to group it by some other category. So in that case, the HTML or the Ajax way is what you would do. So there are different kind of use cases. Flash is primarily used for, we use Flash primarily for your charting, for your gadgets, to present data in a visual way. If you got a lot of reports, a lot of tables, in that way it's the more of the other option, that is the Ajax option. So if I heard you correctly, what you're asking is that what do you mean by commercially friendly license? And the second question was, how do you compare with Jasper reports? Okay. So commercial friendly license means that once if you choose to accept a license in which we do not bind you to certain limitations on what you choose to do with the product. So for example, there are other kind of licenses that if you embed that particular open source into your commercial product, so there are various limitations to what you can do. There are various limitations what you can do and what amount or royalty that has to be contributed back to the particular project. Being based on the Eclipse public license, you are not really limited to that domain. And compared to Jasper, one of the key differentiators is that we enable you to, number one is that we are a web-based design metaphor. Jasper being a banded report metaphor is primarily more suited for your old printed style of reports. If you're writing reports which are good for your web reports as well as your printed reports, you are preferable to use the web design metaphor. Other differentiators are the tool itself. If you compare the designer of BIRT and compare the designer of Jasper, which is iReport, you will see that there's a huge difference in those tools. We have invested a lot in the ease of use in our product. So at the same time, while you provide a lot of functionality, we want to really ensure that the product is easy to use. So in that way, we feel that our product is really much more usable and user-friendly as compared to Jasper. And of course, at the same time, it's flexible. For example, I talked to you in brief about this before, is that Jasper, for example, would not enable you to very easily use multiple data sets within a report. You can certainly do that, but there's a lot of tricks that you have to do. Within BIRT, you can simply do that out of the box. You don't need to do any tips and tricks to ensure that you have multiple data sets within the same report. Yes, definitely. You can write your own joins. You can use a graphical query builder, or you can write your own queries using joins or various data sets. Yes. So in fact, I'll just show you. I'll just show you the kind of queries that you need for those data sets. Okay, let's take this one. So this is an example of a query that I used to generate the dashboard. So you can see that there's a lot of there's union, there's a various parameters that you're passing. This is a complicated query. This is not a very simple query. So you can use this query builder to write your own queries. And most of the time we see that there's a lot of users who write their own queries like that. Yeah, so we have a custom cube implementation that's there out of the box. So you can create a crosstab based on those cubes. So if you go to the palette view, so there's a crosstab option over here. So based on it, you can define a cube, and based on the cube, you can then create crosstabs for your reports. Standard relation, you can choose to use any kind of database for that. Yeah, so we are actively looking at that in ways in which you can provide that. So right now the way to do that is we have a scripted data source, which is a data source that you can build using Java or any scripts. Right now the way in which you can integrate Hibernate is using that, but we are actively looking at ways in which you can straight away use Hibernate out of the box. So definitely we are looking at that as like a formal support, but definitely you can write your own scripted data source right now, and then using that you can define your mapping to your data source. It can pretty much, it can do what you want. So basically it's like a scripted, very basic data object. It basically defined on your model, you can ask it to do whatever you want. You can say it's like a Java data source. So depending on your object model, you can pretty much do a very basic model, or you can choose to do advanced model processing. Okay, the question was whether we have commercial versions and free versions, and what are the difference between that. Okay, so we do have commercial versions. I'll just go back to my presentation. Okay. Okay. So if you see at the bottom where you have Eclipse BIRT, that is a free version. And based on that, we have various Actuate products, which are the commercial products. So all the things you already see on the top, those are your commercial products. At the bottom, you have Eclipse BIRT, that is your free version. So Eclipse BIRT consists of the report designer as well as your runtime engine. Okay, so you want to navigate through the data and then find out whether the data is exactly the same or is it different.
Or maybe some extreme value, extreme difference.
Okay, I'm not sure of this answer, but I'll get back to you if I have a card. But I think that you can use a report API to actually navigate through the data and then navigate through the data and then deciding on the differences, try to find out whether they're the same or whether they are different.
But you don't have specific tool, right?
No, this is a designer tool. You'll have to do some custom implementations for that. Sure, I can do that. So the question was to show an example of how to pass parameters between various reports. Okay. Sure. Okay. So you might have seen a dashboard report that I showed you before. Okay, this one. So in this way, in this report, what I'm doing is I am passing parameters from my first report to the second report. For example, let's say you take this one, December. I click on that. Now my second report is showing me the data for that particular month. That is December 2004. So I'm passing this value as a parameter to the second report. So that is one way of doing that. So what I'll do is I'll quickly show you how that's done. So this is the chart that I showed you there. So you just click on that. Go to Format Chart, Value Y Series, and Interactivity. So you define hyperlinks over there. You just click on Edit. So this is where I'm selecting that what all I need to pass to my second report. So this is, I'm saying that that link should go to the second report. These are the parameters that need to be passed, current month, current year, and these are the values of those parameters. And you can see that these are dynamic values. So based on the data that I'm getting from the result set, the appropriate values are getting passed. So these are dynamic values that I get from my data set, and depending on which value the user is clicking, he can see that actual data. Yes, I'm also going to do that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so these parameters, the values, they can be passed from your application, or you can choose to let your users to actually select those values. So I think I have an example of that. Let me see, sales invoice. No, I messed this up. Okay, sales by territory. Okay, so this is the parameter screen in which I'm prompting the user to select their territory. They can either select NA or APAC, EMEA. That's it, and they can select that, and then based on that, it's going to generate the appropriate report. Yep. And this is a very simple kind of parameter. Definitely, you can do a lot more with parameters. You can have drop-down lists. You can have various kind of options. You can have cascading parameters based on the value of country. You can choose to filter it out to various states. So you can do a lot more with parameters. Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't have available out of the box where you can understand how the various reports are linked. So what users do is that depending on the various options, they choose to use this hyperlink builder on various objects. For example, if you've got charts, so depending on that, you create various interactivity options based on those charts. So if you've got charts available, you can just simply go to those charts, go to the format chart, and go to the various interactivity settings on those charts. And go to the settings and go to those charts, and based on various events, you can define your clicks over there. Yeah, so that was the intermediate document, the report document that I was talking about. That's the one. So if you have a need, let's say you have a monthly sales report, you want to generate a report at the end of every month, the 31st of the month. So you can schedule a report to run on that time, and then you can store that data in a report document. So when the end user actually views the report, it's not really generating all the data at the same time. It's just viewing that data. Yeah, good questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.